Welcome to the Day of Hope. There's nothing we would have loved more than to share this day with each and every one of you in person. For the health and safety of all, we are capturing here and on our website as much as we can of the people, the stories, the education, and the resources that make this day so inspiring. This virtual celebration combines for the first time two of our most cherished events at Maine General, Cancer Survivors Day and the Walk for Hope. Both events are about celebrating our cancer patients and dedicating ourselves to supporting them into the future. We've combined what is most special about both events into one, the Day of Hope. On behalf of our dedicated, skilled, and compassionate staff at the Harold Alphonse Center for Cancer Care, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for your support of our cancer community every day. Cancer is a journey, and it's never fought alone. We're with you.
My cancer was very unexpected. It came at a very bad time during COVID, and the care I received was just exceptional, from the front office staff to the nurses to the doctors, especially Dr. Healy and Dr. Polkenhorn. They made all the difference for me. And my family, my husband has been tremendously supportive, and so I just want to say thank you for the great care that you give, and I feel very blessed to have been a patient that was able to get the right care at the right time with you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Maine General.
Hello, I'm Chuck Hayes, President and CEO of Maine General Health. Thank you for joining with us for the Day of Hope. As Debbie said, the power of this event is its people. We truly miss seeing you and your loved ones. This is a day when we recognize we are one family. When a patient walks through the doors of the Cancer Center, they're part of our family. COVID-19 may have prevented us from gathering in person, but it can't dampen our commitment to our cancer patients. Our patients need us now more than ever. Facing cancer is always a challenge, and COVID has amplified many of these challenges. I want to thank our extraordinary caregivers at the Harold Alphonse Center for Cancer Care. They have been amazing, continuing through COVID to provide the very best care. We're so proud of this dedicated team. They are among the most caring, compassionate, and skilled staff you'll meet anywhere. Now please join us for the opening invocation from Chaplain Joe Dressler.
From whatever may be your source of emotional or physical strength, beyond what you can see, touch, or hear, may you feel the healing of your soul, find comfort, peace, and compassion in the midst of life's daily struggles. May this day of hope help you feel the warmth of the hands and hearts that come from that source, which provides the human touch of love to support you through each challenging day. Amen.
Hi, I'm Alyssa, and this is my brother Steve.
Charlie's Family of Dealerships is proud to be a sponsor of the Harold Alphonse Center for Cancer Care here in Augusta.
When our mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, the Harold Alphonse Center for Cancer Care gave her the care and support she needed while being close to home.
For the month of October, Charlie's will be donating a portion of every new vehicle sold with the ultimate goal of raising $30,000.
Charlie's Motor Mall is proud to be a part of New Center Maine's Companies That Care.
Monica Castellanos is a patient that I actually met as I was coordinated as part of our event. The staff here at the HAC shared with me that Monica, like many other patients, came to them very anxious. But within a short time, they shared that they became, well, just family. I hear that happening over and over again. Our staff here at the HAC are dedicated to those they care for. It isn't just a job. They truly serve with all their hearts. And Monica just happens to be one of many recipients of their care and compassion. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Deb.
Thank you for joining me today. And I thought that your story would really connect with many of our listeners. You're in the prime of your life. You're juggling many things. You're a busy lady. And you shared with me that you felt very healthy, the best that you've felt in a long time. And then, out of the blue, you get a cancer diagnosis.
This is true. So
Back in the winter, I discovered a lump in my breast, and I saw my PCP, and she felt this lump, and she said, it feels like it's benign. You have your mammogram in March. Your last mammogram was fine, so just plan to do that. So I went and I had my mammogram in March of 2018, and needed an ultrasound because of this lump. It was not actually, we learned it was not actually in my breast, it was my lymph node. And at the time, I was having a rheumatoid arthritis flare in my right hand. So it made some sense that I would have an enlarged lymph node in my right underarm. The radiologist said, come back in 6 months. And so life kind of goes on, and I ended up being a little bit late. And I went in, and the lymph node had shrunk, so it was great. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is great. I was on August 5th last year, I was helping my partner who was selling his house. We were having an open house in 6 days, and I was cleaning the stove, and I got the call that I had breast cancer. And it was absolutely stunning because I was feeling really healthy. I was getting my RA under control. I felt really good. I was exercising, you know, feeling really excited about where I was going professionally and what I was doing. And this really just, it just cut me to my core. Yes. I just couldn't believe that this had happened. And I kept waiting. I was like, they made a mistake. They had to have made a mistake. And in fact, they hadn't. So I have an aggressive form of cancer. I'm triple positive, which the prognosis is much better now because there is immunotherapy. So I did 6 rounds of chemotherapy from September to December 26th. And then I did surgery at Dana-Farber, and I did 5 weeks of daily radiation.
You know, Monica, one thing that you shared with me that really touched me was about how this cancer diagnosis has impacted your life and made some changes in it. But one of the terms you used was that you described it as a discipline of gratitude. And I wonder if you could share that with our audience today, just what has happened to you.
Sure. So it happened really quickly, but what I found in my cancer diagnosis, and again, I would like to go back and say I was incredibly nervous, very, very nervous, and not used to where my life was going at that point. So, but the discipline of gratitude for me is, what I realized is that what was important stayed, and all kinds of other things just fell to the side. I just stuff I didn't need, either emotional stuff or physical stuff. I got rid of stuff that didn't matter. You know, and every day there was something to be grateful for. If it was, you know, my black lab lying on the bed next to me when I was, you know, on the hard days of chemo.
Right.
And you know, every day there was something to be grateful for. And I found that, you know, even through the 3-week cycle, you know, when I would get to the point of that following week, the last week before my next treatment, and I started to feel good. I wish I hadn't gone through this process, but I feel like there's been the cancer journey, and then there's sort of been a parallel journey of life, and what is important and what isn't important. And on the other side of it, I feel like I've kept the stuff that's really good.
All right, thank you for all coming.
Your ring?
Sorry.
The New Balance Foundation is Maine General Walk for Hope's longest sponsor. Recognizing cancer impacts almost everyone in some way, year after year, New Balance rallies around local cancer care in Maine. Most years, you can see the New Balance truck and Newbie the shoe accompanied by a strong team of employees and their families at the Walk for Hope. And though this year is different, New Balance's support for the Harold Alphon Center for Cancer Care is unwavering. As the Day of Hope main event sponsor, New Balance wants our cancer community to know that even in these difficult times, they are supported.
A couple of years ago at our annual event, we had a focus on how genetics is forecasting cancer care. We talked about how genetics is expanding and that one day we hope that as we learn more through genetic testing, clinical trials, and research, that the word cancer will no longer be part of our vocabulary. This speaker today is someone I met when she was only 13 years old, but she wasn't the patient. It was her mom, Pam. In some ways, you could say that Amanda grew up with the Maine General Cancer Care team. Amanda is here today to talk about her experience and the hope she has in being a part of eliminating cancer for our future generations. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I would like for you today to share with our audience about your experience with your cancer, and no doubt we'll include your sweet mama. If you would just take a moment and kind of tell us about your journey.
My journey technically begins back in 1975. My biological grandmother was diagnosed at 35 with breast cancer. Unfortunately, we didn't know much about it in 1975, so it was something that the doctors put off. They didn't believe anything that she had a spot. They just kept kind of brushing her off. And by the time they realized that there was something there and it was cancer, it was too late, and we lost her. She was 36 years old when she passed away. And then the journey begins years later with my aunt, who was 32 years old when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And 6 months after she was diagnosed, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer as well. Unfortunately, all three of them have had it in the left breast, and it's kind of just became the same thing one after another. My mom lost her battle after 15 years with breast cancer, and my battle begins when I was 28. It was actually 2 years after I lost Mom to her breast cancer. I was pregnant with my daughter. I was 6 months pregnant with her. Found a lump while I was taking a shower one day and just assumed that it was a milk duct, being 6 months pregnant and not knowing who to ask or who to talk to. So I kind of brushed it off for a few weeks. I proceeded to talk with Dr. Hertler here at the Cancer Center, who is also my mom's doctor, and wonderful man.
Yes,
wonderful
agreed.
man. He took me right in. I asked him what he would do if it was in his daughter instead of me. Having known Dr. Hertler since I was 13 years old, I kind of felt like I was a daughter to him too.
Right, yeah.
So he suggested that I went and had both of my breasts removed, only because of my history of it. And I did so down in Portland. I did a reconstruction and came back, did chemotherapy for a full year, did 6 weeks of radiation, and all of this happened 2 weeks after I gave birth to my daughter.
Amazing. I'd say one of your traits that you got from your mama is a little bit of a stubbornness in you, which is a positive thing in this case. Your stubbornness has really made you refuse to let cancer overtake your life, and to be positive and move forward.
I feel there's too much of a cycle going on in my family. And now that I have my daughter, thankfully I'm 7 years clean of cancer. My family didn't have it the same way, so I feel like I'm taking a stride further than my mom was able to, and I do what I can every day for Taylor.
Yeah, that's great. Let's continue with that thought. Clinical trials, research, genetic testing, huge for your family, and being able to, how I talked about genetics and things, helping to forecast cancer care. Talk with us a little bit about that, because I know your mom went through some of that too, and what you've also taken on too, because I know that your desire is that Taylor never has to deal with this.
Yeah.
She's only 8.
She is only 8, yes. When I found out that I had breast cancer, Dr. Hertler immediately suggested genetic testing for me. We were looking for the BRCA1, the BRCA2, all of the, I think another one was the BAR type of thing. And when my mom had done some genetic testing and everything had come back negative. So we knew there was some sort of a link, being all of us in the left breast, all of us same breast cancer, everything. So Dr. Hertler and I decided we'd take it a little bit further. So I proceeded down to Scarborough. I did genetic testing. They took some blood, sent it out to some special laboratories, and they finally came back with a abnormal link to a genetic test, to a genetic or gene called Li-Fraumeni syndrome. So we have done a lot of studies as far as the Li-Fraumeni syndrome goes, found out that it connects us to a lot more cancers that we weren't aware of. And one of them was kidney cancer, which is what my aunt also had.
Okay.
I think my biggest thing is a few of my family members are nervous about the genetics. They're afraid if it's going to come back positive, that they've been given some sort of a cancer sentence and that kind of stuff. I don't feel that way. I feel like I can be more aware of it. I do my colon screening every 2 years. I see my dermatologist. It's not like a life sentence, I don't feel, but I enjoy my time that I have in case something were to happen. I just take it one day at a time, but I feel that helping in the genetics has helped a cousin of mine possibly, and my daughter in the future, and that's my goal, is to get rid of this because it's been around too much.
Yes. Your mama would not want you living in fear.
Kennebec Savings Bank is incredibly proud to participate in MaineGeneral's 2020 Day of Hope. Kennebec Savings Bank has been a strong supporter of this event from the very beginning because the dollars raised stay right here in our community to help our friends and our neighbors receive the best care possible. And although we can't all be together today, we are standing with you and are so proud to be part of this important event.
This is my friend and colleague, Rhonda Garber. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Deb.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate this so much.
It's my pleasure.
I want to dive right in today and have you share with our guests a little bit about where you started your journey, when you learned about your diagnosis, and what treatment you've gone through so far.
Okay. It really started back in 2014 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At that time, I had radiation therapy and surgery, and I did great. I did really well, and I did not have a difficult time with the treatment. Everything went really smoothly. And then 5 years goes by. Uneventful 5 years. I felt like I was in good health and doing okay. And then last September, I started having symptoms that I didn't recognize as anything serious or anything of concern. The symptoms were, I had some mild pelvic pain and abdominal bloating and a cough. The cough, I couldn't finish a sentence without coughing. And again, I didn't know what these symptoms meant. So time went by. I thought these symptoms would go away, but they got worse. And then I really was starting to feel miserable. By mid to late October, I was feeling very unwell. Saw my primary care. I saw my PCP, Erica Hall, and she was wonderful.
She is wonderful,
she,
yes.
Very quickly determined that I needed to go to the ER that day. That was on October 28th. So I went to the ER there, and the doctor, I remember the doctor so well, Dr. Reed Roberts and the nurse, Tara Elliott Green, they were so compassionate and so kind. CT scan, blood work, we learned. My husband was with me, my husband Greg, and we learned that I had ovarian cancer. So we learned that 2 days later, I was here at the cancer center seeing Dr. Polkinghorn. And he and my surgeon, Dr. Lori Small from Scarborough, both were encouraging, and they gave me some hope. So my treatment started with a diagnostic laparoscopy to do biopsies and confirm my diagnosis. Then during the laparoscopy, they were able to drain it, so I felt much better after that. So mid-November of last year, I started chemotherapy. So on May 6th, I had my last treatment, and I've been doing great since then.
Wonderful.
So, yes.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
And should I assume that you rang the milestone bell?
I definitely rang the bell. Yes, I did.
Tell
As a
us
matter of
about
fact,
that.
I joke that I rang the bell off the wall, but I didn't break anything. I promise I did. I was in treatment, right? And my husband called me, and because it was during COVID, of course.
Yes.
So he had been with me for every appointment, for every treatment and everything, and he couldn't be in there for that day. Of course, it was in May of this year, and he called and said, "How much longer are you going to be?" And I knew he would be out there, and I knew I was going to ring the bell that day. And I knew my mom and my daughter, but I was blown away when I walked out of this building, and all my kids were there. My grandkids were there.
Yes. Yeah.
It was really special.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a big deal for me.
That's great.
Very special moment, and you know, it was in the middle of COVID. It was in the middle of the workday, but they all were there.
Yeah.
And even Chuck Hayes was there, and my boss and friend Margaret was there.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a milestone.
That's
for
great.
me.
And I wanted you to share that today with our guests, because even in these times of COVID, I want people to be innovative and think about ways to be able to support. And
Everybody
they
was
couldn't come
masked.
in, but
Yeah.
they could be right there.
They
when
could,
you
and
walked
we
out.
were all masked. I mean,
Yes, and
and
that's
it
so
was,
important.
Yeah, but it was.
to be
I couldn't
there.
hug anybody except for my husband, but
Yeah.
I hugged him instead. So it was
Yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah.
great. Well, I wanted you to share again with our guests about how this diagnosis and this experience has impacted you and motivated you to make some changes in
Okay.
your life.
Very early on, after I learned that I had ovarian cancer, I really evaluated my health. I looked at things like, you know, how's my physical health? And obviously I had ovarian cancer. I thought I was pretty healthy. I thought I was okay. My mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health. I looked at everything, and I started educating myself to learn what can I do to give myself every chance for healing.
You've also participated in some of the resources that we've made available
Yes.
for some of those life changes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing
Yes.
those different things. And I asked you, talk about the different symptoms and things like that, because I know that you may make a connection with someone out there that may be going through some of these things, and we want to be able to be proactive rather than being reactive for these kind of things. So thank you for that. And as we wrap up, is there anything that you wanted to just send to our listeners?
There's hope beyond your cancer diagnosis.
Well, thank you, Rhonda.
Thank
Great
you.
tips for our audience, and thank you for the blessings.
Thank you.
My daughter was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma at the beginning of the pandemic in early March. Organizations like the Harold Alfond Center for Cancer Care are there to provide that additional support.
Patients like my mom, who lost her battle in 2006 to breast cancer, and for people like me, who fought the battle and won.
In April of 2017, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma. We fought back, and I am happy to report that my husband is in remission.
We're walking for you!
We're with you every step of the way!
We're cheering for you! Woohoo!
I gotta say thank you to all my family. You guys have been my biggest supporters, and I would have never made it without you. Thank you for everything. The milestone bell. Life is a journey, or at least that's what they say, with peaks and valleys all along the way. Step by step, day by day, we promise to walk with you come what may. Fix your eyes upon your goal, commit yourself heart and soul. Big or small, it's your call, for it's your milestone after all. Ring this bell when you reach your milestone. With love and support, your oncology family.
here's a heartfelt thanks to the ladies for sharing their stories with us. So that just about completes our program for our virtual Day of Hope ceremony. I would like to give a shout out to our sponsors who we would not have been able to do this day without them. They recognized that COVID didn't stop cancer, and they rallied with us to be able to bring this virtual Day of Hope. So their names will be listed next on the screen, and then we're going to leave you with all of those being honored and recognized by our pinwheel donations, those who have fought cancer, those who are currently undergoing cancer, those who have lost their lives, and then certainly to the staff at the Harold Alfond Center for Cancer Care who are here treating our cancer community. And all I would say is that as we end our ceremony here today, I ask that you get up and you go out and you walk for hope. And if you have the means, to please go to the website listed below and make your donation so that we can continue to help our patients as well as continue the programs that we offer here at the Harold Alfond Center for Cancer Care. Thank you so much for celebrating with us in our first virtual Day of Hope, and I'm hoping that we get to gather with all of you next year. Take care.